Scouts, today we're going to have a little fun learning about the past and adding to the future. Let's get started. We're going to do some time traveling Webelos style. We're going to learn about the history of scouting. We're going to learn about a time period from the past, and we're even going to time travel to the future and share some of the things we're doing now with the people in the future. First up though, Mr. Jordan's going to give us a brief history of scouting.
A brief history of the BSA. In 1907, British Army leader Lord Robert Baden-Powell started a group called the Boy Scouts to help young men prepare for adulthood. A few years later, American newspaperman W.D. Boyce was in London following a safari. According to legend, he got lost on a dark, foggy night, and a young lone scout helped him find his way. When Boyce offered a tip to pay the young man, he refused, saying that it was his duty as a scout. Boyce thought this was pretty spectacular and went home and formed the BSA February the 8th, 1910. In early 1910, several other youth and outdoor organizations agreed to join and become part of the BSA. These groups included Ernest Thompson Seton's Woodcraft Indians, who focused on teaching boys and girls outdoor skills, or woodcraft, and Dan Beard's Pioneer Boys, also known as the Sons of Daniel Boone. The YMCA helped organize the BSA as a national organization. In fact, there are records of early BSA troops in West Alabama that were started through the YMCA. All the different founders were given new roles in the BSA. Seton wrote the first BSA handbook and became the first Chief Scout. A man named James E. West was hired as managing director, but only for 6 months. 35 years later, he retired as Chief Scout Executive. West oversaw the addition of brave, clean, and reverent to the Scout Law. I guess he wanted to add clean because he was tired of stinky Scouts. Under West's leadership, the Council became an important way to support local units. Our council, the Black Warrior Council, was founded in 1922. By 1912, the Eagle Scout Award was introduced and awarded for the first time. Did you know there was a debate over whether the top rank should be an eagle or a wolf? In 1915, W.D. Boyce started the Lone Scout Association as a way to enable boys in rural areas who couldn't find a troop to join. They became part of the BSA in 1924. Speaking of 1924, both Camp Horn in Cottondale and Camp O'Rear in Jasper were opened in 1924. In 1916, Baden-Powell starts a Jungle Book-themed program for younger boys called Wolf Clubs. By the 1930s, this becomes a part of the BSA known as cubbing. The ranks back then were bobcat, wolf, bear, and lion. In 1941, the Webelos program is created. The first Pinewood Derbies held in 1953. I wonder who won. By 1967, the Lion program is dropped and replaced with Webelos. In 1982, a new program called Tiger Cubs is added to the Cub Scout program. In 1986, Webelos becomes a 2-year program with an optional switch to a tan uniform. In 2010, the BSA celebrated its 100th birthday. We remembered all the trails of the past and looked forward to the future. In 2017, girls were added to BSA programs helping to create the BSA of today. There's a whole lot more to scouting than just its history. Over the years, the BSA has grown to include 4 national high adventure bases where you can canoe, snorkel, hike, and raft, and much more. There's an honor society for Scouts BSA called the Order of the Arrow. Most importantly, there's you. What the next chapter of the BSA's history is depends on you. You can be part of that history in both what you do now and by inviting someone to join Scouting today.
Now that you've got all that amazing information about the history of Scouting, let's make something. Let's either make a poster or a collage or a scrapbook or a timeline or anything to show the history of Scouting. Don't forget to put yourself in it though. Now hold on as we travel back to the past. Now we're going to actually go through a virtual journey. We're going to pick a decade and study it. A decade is a period of 10 years. So you could pick from like 1865 to 1875, 1950 to 1960, 1994 to 2004. All of those things are time periods. So once you pick your time period, then you're going to research it by watching videos, reading books and articles about that time period, or asking people who lived during that time period to tell you some things about it. Next, look closely at the things that happened during that time period or the things they have during that time period. Compare it to the way it is now. Then, after you've done all your research, you're going to create a fun timeline sharing the information you learned. Don't just slap a couple of dates and a couple of pictures onto a piece of paper. Let's make it fun. Let's make it interesting. The first way you could do it is actually online. You could use Prezi or TimeToast to create your timeline. Or you could be real creative and pull out your art supplies and your paper or whatever else and create some interesting, fun timeline. Hey, even a cooler thing is once you do your timeline, share it with your dinner pack. They would love to see what you've learned. Here are just a couple examples of some cool ways to do timelines. Next, we want to create a time capsule. By creating a time capsule, you'll be able to show people in the future what you're doing now. The first thing you want to think about when you're creating your time capsule is what type of container do you want to put it in. That type of container would have to be able to withstand where you're going to put it. Are you putting it in a toy box, the back of the closet? Are you actually going to bury it? So you have to think about those things when you're choosing your container. Also, don't forget to decide how long before you open it, and you can write that on the outside of your time capsule. Now we need to decide some of the things you want to put in your time capsule. You could put your favorite toy, your favorite book. You could write letters or have other people write letters or paragraphs telling what's going on during this time. You could include some things from your favorite events, tell a little bit about your hobbies, anything like that to tell the people in the future what is going on now. Once you get everything together, start placing it in your time capsule. Remember to make sure you close it up really well and that your container is airtight and waterproof. You do not want anything to get destroyed that you have placed in your time capsule. Now get ready to go place it where you're going to place it. Well, Scouts, we hope you had great fun time traveling with us today. We hope you have fun creating your time capsules and your timelines and your brief history of Scouting, and we hope you've learned a lot too. Thanks for joining us.